Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here. Happy Saturday. And today we're going to talk about a topic that we've talked about before, but we just haven't done a dedicated video to it. And the timing is perfect because up this morning popped a new article from Forbes about Google and their AI team. And specifically, this article was about Dr. Timnitgebru, I hope I'm saying her name right, who was a research scientist at Google's AI division. And she was just fired this past week. And she claims that she was fired for reasons of raising ethical issues with regard to AI to Google management. And there are other issues here in terms of staffing issues and how minorities like Dr. Timnit are treated at Google, but that's not the purpose of this AI channel to get into those issues. Certainly, they need to be explored by the appropriate people, but what we're really going to focus on is the AI and ethics piece. So a letter of condemnation was signed, directed towards Google by 1,500 Google employees and 2,000 academics and other scholars of AI regarding this incident. So this raises powerful issues. And as I said, we've talked about it before, but the whole point is that development of AI needs to be guided ethically. Why is that important? Well, it's important because AI can be seriously misused. Specifically, Dr. Gebru alleges that Google didn't do enough to combat the biases built into its AI that's used for hiring and a bunch of other things. And these biases are real. Why? Because as we've talked about extensively, AI is software, it's algorithms, and the way that you train a machine learning or deep learning AI is by providing thousands or millions of examples of what you want the AI to do. And again, we're talking about narrow AI, which is all that exists today. So this is an ongoing problem. We've talked about it in terms of using AI to screen resumes and the clear bias that emerged from that effort, bias against minorities and bias against women. And apparently, based on Dr. Gebru's memo to management that led to this conflict, that it's still happening quite a bit. So this has real world consequences, right? The reason AI needs to be done ethically is because you don't want these biases. You want anyone who applies for a job to have a fair shot. You want anyone that applies for a credit card to have a fair shot. Did you know that almost all bank credit decisions today are done by an AI algorithm? The days of humans looking at credit applications is long over. And so these issues surrounding ethical use of AI and biases is critical to people making a livelihood and supporting themselves and or their families. So one of the things I mentioned about 2 videos ago is that our focus is on making AI human. So there's a lot of AI outlets out there, but our focus is totally different than anyone else's. And that is, what are the human consequences of all this AI? So clearly, if we're making AI human and humans are biased inherently and humans program AIs, then those AIs become biased. And there really needs to be a concerted effort to find out how to eliminate those biases. And we've talked about a company that has developed a tool to prevent bias in AI algorithms, and they're shopping that and selling it to corporate clients. And that's a good thing, but there needs to be a lot more of that. Also, when it comes to AI and ethics, we need that effort to be very strong in terms of what AI is used for outside of the corporate and consumer segment. So how about military uses? Most people think that the Terminator couldn't come about in reality, but military uses of AI are subject to tremendous abuse. And all of this needs rigorous oversight. And we talked in one of our very last videos about artificial general intelligence and where the effort is to create AGI, and the absolute need when it comes to AGI for oversight, and the concentrated effort to inject ethics into the AI field is part of that effort. There's companies and groups that are focusing 100% of their attention on this. One is AI for Good. But this is going to be more and more relevant. Why? Because AI is being very rapidly adopted now. The bigger companies can afford it. The bigger companies are implementing it. The bigger companies are the companies that by and large control virtually everything you do, from jobs to employment to bank credit for buying a house or getting a credit card. So these issues have now come to critical importance, and we're going to continue to talk about the necessary need for ethics guiding AI, but also government oversight and ultimately regulation. Any field that prevents a manifest danger to human beings needs regulation, just like nuclear weapons, for example. So this is a very interesting development out of Google. I think this is not the first instance where issues surrounding Google's employment practices have come up, that's for sure. But it certainly is a reminder that the creation of bias in the development of AI is still, unfortunately, alive and well and needs to be closely monitored and addressed on a proactive basis. So that's it for today. Something to think about. Obviously, from a career standpoint, we always give career tips at the end. A little bit down the road, I don't know about it today. There may be AI for Good, certainly, but there's going to be quite a number of nonprofits focused on human constructive uses of AI going forward. So this would be an area where you could get involved, right? And make the world a better place and have a job and make a living. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon, and keep an eye on our Facebook page and our Twitter feed for more. Thanks a lot. Bye.